When I first saw the Sonic Frontiers trailer last year, I was making a face like this. But when I actually played Sonic Frontiers, I was making a face like this. The trailer just looks so empty and just not Sonic. But now it's known as one of the best modern Sonic games. What made this game work? The open world aspect, the skill tree, and the attack system are all brand new and strange additions to a Sonic game. And these are some things that nobody could have expected, and somehow they all just blend together beautifully. What about Sonic Frontiers made all these unusual mechanics work so well together, and what made this such a good game? Well, for starters, let me just disclose that this is a boost game. If you aren't a huge fan of Sonic, let me explain what that means. There are three kinds of Sonic entries: the classic Sonic, Sonic Adventure, and the boost games. Ever since Sonic Unleashed, Sega has mainly been producing boost games with a mix of classic in there. With all that out of the way, let's talk about the boost system in this game. Like all the other boost titles, it's not unlimited. There is a boost meter to let you know how long you can hold it for, which will refill with ring pickups and when destroying an enemy. Sometimes the boost can feel a bit weird and too fast, but other times, when done right, the boost makes the game feel both fast and fluent. Frontiers does both, especially with all the boost upgrades you can purchase after you do your fishing for 20 minutes, of course. And they also added settings that you can tweak with to find what fits you best as a player. The movement in this game is so freeing and yet so fluent. You can traverse to places you wouldn't think possible, and if you boost at the right angle, you will be sent flying across the map at hyper speeds, and you just gotta do tricks in the air. It's really awesome, it's really fun. The jumping and homing attacks also feel just as nice, and while sometimes they might slow you down, you can also use those to your advantage to go flying with a cancellation. By that I mean, if you time it right, you can homing attack at an enemy or object, and then quickly boost and cancel it and go in another direction, and you go flying away. Great for speed runs. Oh my god, it's so hard to do that. The next part about the movement I want to highlight is the wall running, otherwise known as the only thing I have a problem with in this game. It's very simple and it's very basic. You just go to the wall and you grab it and you climb it. But I'm just really bad at it. I constantly fly off it. I think I'm boosting too much. I don't know. Either way, it's annoying. I think it's just a skill issue, guys. I think it's just a skill issue. Overall, the movement and boosting in this game feel the best they ever have. Before this game, I mainly would replay Generations just because the movement felt so good. But Frontiers has so much more freedom for the player to make their own path in both the open world and the actual stages. It took everything that I enjoyed about Generations and made it better. It is by far the best boost game yet. For years, the main way Sonic fought Eggman and co. was just by jumping on them pretty fast or rolling into them super fast. But now, Sonic is fed up, and he will just beat the shit out of you with his own two hands. This might be a controversial opinion, but I think the combat in Frontiers is my favorite. Not only does it also feel fluent and powerful, it's just the most fun. For example, in Sonic Adventure 2, you only had the spin dash and homing attack. And, for me at least, sometimes the homing attack would either just go to the wrong enemy, or just miss completely and I'd fly off and die. Now before any SA2 fanboys come at me, let me just say, despite its obvious flaws, I love the game to death, and I think it is the best Sonic story to date. Now back to Sonic Frontiers homing attack. To ensure that you are targeting the right enemy, you get a lock-on feature to show that you are going to dash towards them. And it only does this when you're in range, so you can't ever miss. And it just feels so powerful and quick. Overall, everything in this game feels perfect. This game not only added new main attack features of punching the shit out of these guys, but now old and new abilities can be acquired on a skill tree, and you can combo them to do whatever you want. And it's a decently sized skill tree at that. A ton of variation can be made with these abilities. There's ranged attacks, blurred image attacks, and even more spin attacks. This guy loves to spin, oh my god. The combos are a lot like the movement in this game. It allows you, the player, to do whatever you'd like. It is fully free. Of course, some of these combos and abilities are worse than others, but it all really depends on your playstyle. The enemies in Frontiers are not super challenging until super late game, like the DLC. Free DLC, by the way. It's free. But then again, was Sonic ever known for difficult combat? No. If you want to just destroy anything you come across, I found that spamming attacks and then ending it with a slam attack on repeat does insane damage. I see speedrunners do this against the bosses. It's crazy good. Sonic also has some new defensive abilities, as a side dodge back and forth, and a parry attack. And the parry is also super broken, because you don't have to time it, you can just hold it indefinitely. He also has recover attacks now, which are pretty awesome, and they do way more damage than they should. It's kind of insane. Overall though, the combat feels fair, fast, powerful, and most importantly, fun. The combos are fluent and versatile, and the enemies develop ways to counter you, and make you adapt and change your own fighting style. An unexpected but very welcome change to Sonic. You are probably waiting for me to talk about the main selling point about Sonic Frontiers, the open world. And while when this was first shown, I think a lot of people were in the same boat as me, kinda confused and worried it would just be empty and bland. Even in the trailers, it didn't look super fun and engaging. It looked like it was trying way too hard to copy the current Zelda games. Everything about it just seemed bland. I was wrong. I was so wrong. The open world in Frontiers is meant for people with ADHD, and while I don't have ADHD, I can get behind this type of world. My friends best describe this as...
It looks like they gave a kid all their assets and just gave them free reign to just throw them up wherever they wanted.
I can agree, this isn't the most visually appealing layout with random boosts, rails, and platforms just existing in the sky and around the landscape, but it is definitely a fun one. There are so many little challenges for the player to find and platform towards, and most of the rails are used in a way of faster transportation. Now there is fast travel in this game, but it can't be locked until the end of the island. Oh yeah, there are multiple islands. I didn't know this until I bought it. I thought it was just one island, but there are 4, I think 5 now, main islands that you can fully explore. And every island is completely different. They have different climates and styles and enemies and mini-bosses. It's awesome. Honestly, the open world would probably be super boring if it wasn't for the free movement. I keep coming back to it, but this game is just so freeing. At the end of the day, this is a Sonic title and a platformer. Movement is everything, but it only works if the map complements it and uses every part of it. And the islands and frontiers do just that. Not many people might believe this, but the Sonic games actually do have a story to them. Usually a connected story too. Now Frontier's story is connected to the main timeline, as far as I know. And boy, it is so confusing. There's a lot of, oh Sonic, that's just in your head. Or, that's just cyberspace, don't worry about it dude. So I'm not going to explain the entire story in this video. I'll just be covering a basic rundown of what's going on, and giving my general thoughts on it. If you'd like an entire breakdown, I'll link 2 videos down below. One of them being a long, in-depth explanation, and the other being a short breakdown video. This game actually gives a lot of lore about the Chows. So the basic rundown is that thousands of years ago, an ancient species called the Ancients had to leave their home planet to escape an evil being named the End. The names in this game are super lazy, but it's whatever. The Ancients find Earth from the attraction of the Chaos Emeralds and the Master Emerald. Once here, they develop cyberspace to store their memories so they no longer feel homesick. They knew the End was going to try to come back and stop them, so they made the Titans to try to fight back. It obviously didn't work. So with no answer in sight, some of them left to Angel Island and became the Chows we know today. The others stayed behind and became the Cocos. Eggman discovers these islands and the Titans on them and decides to try to use them as his own, integrating his new AI, Sage, into cyberspace. Sonic and his friends later come to investigate why the Chaos Emeralds are so fond of these islands, and while doing so, they get sucked into a wormhole, taking them into cyberspace. Sonic is the only one to escape his memories because he's just that damn fast. He's now on a mission to free all of his friends and figure out what is going on with the Coco, the cyberspace, and especially the Titans and Sage. I'm not going to tell you any more of the story, as that would include spoilers, and the whole point of this video is to try to get you to go and play this game for yourself if you haven't already. And if you have played the game, you don't need me to go over the story again. You already got that down. The story for Frontiers can be rather confusing for a good amount of time, but after doing some research, it is a rather interesting and just kind of a good story. I always enjoy games about the Chow, like Sonic Adventure. I like that game a lot. Really fun. I don't like the hub world, but that's besides the point. All the stages take place in the cyberspace, and it always makes for some badass and super cool and open gameplay. The story may be a little bit rough around the edges at times, but what story isn't? I think this game overall does a good job getting players interested enough to pay attention in cutscenes and dialogue to call it a well-told story. And cyberspace is just really cool. I saved the best for last. Everyone's favorite part about every Sonic game. The soundtrack. To start off, let me just say, I have not, and I will not listen to this entire soundtrack. If you haven't looked at it, here it is. 150 songs, 6 hours long. Not to mention the extra 46 songs with the DLC soundtrack. What I have done though, is listen to the main songs and the most notable. This includes I'm Here, Undefeatable, Breakthrough, and Theme of Starfall Islands. Obviously, there are a ton of other fantastic songs to choose from, but these are just some of the main ones I wanted to point out. Frontiers takes a very majestic approach to his soundtrack, going from beautiful orchestras to kick-ass dubstep. There are a lot of vocal tracks on this too, some of the best I've heard in Sonic game personally. I might be a little biased because the features are mainly from Keelan Quinn? I don't know how to say his name. but he's the lead singer of Sleeping with Sirens. Great band, awesome singer. So if you also know Keelan, you know that he is an amazing screamo singer. So these boss fights feel even more badass when you hear his intense vocals in the background. I love it. I could go on and on about just his vocal tracks alone on this game, but the majority of this game's music is kind of ambient and instrumentals, and these are just as effective at setting the tone for the stage or arena you're in. For example, while in open world, everyone is usually pretty calm and chill, nature's peaceful, and the music will follow that route, enhancing the feeling, adding another layer of immersion. In contrast, however, the stages in Frontiers are very fast-paced and look like shattered memories. This is, of course, because we're in cyberspace and there's shattered memories of Sonic. So to match this, the music takes a super fast-paced EDM sound and makes the stages feel even faster than before. It's an incredible experience and feeling while playing the stages. Another noteworthy topic I would like to talk about relating to music is the collectibles around the island. Frontiers offers a jukebox player that can play and select standout songs from previous Sonic games. They didn't have to do this. It's just an awesome addition that the Sonic team gave us on top of the 6 hours of elevating music. Back when I was a kid, my first ever Sonic game that I can remember is Sonic Heroes on the GameCube. And while I never even got close to beating that game, it sparked a future love for the franchise. I wouldn't always keep up with the Sonic games because I knew how unfunctional some of them were. And after seeing the trailer for Frontiers, I thought it was just going to be another flop. But after reluctantly buying the game, I was instantly hooked and spent hours a day grinding the game and maxing out the islands and stats. Sonic Frontiers has been my favorite experience with a Sonic game to date, and I hope if you were still unsure about buying this game, or you've never even played a Sonic game, I really hope this video convinced you to just give it a chance, because it might surprise you with how great it truly is. Thank you for your time, and please consider liking the video and subscribing if you enjoyed it. It really helps me out. I just caught a poison dart frog, guys, with my buddy Big the Cat.
That's so fucking cool, Caleb.
Poison dart cock.